Chapter 10. The carriage flew along. We mentioned before that an idea that was a stroke of genius had flashed into Marya Alexandrovna's brain that morning when she was hunting over the town for the prince. We promised to refer to that idea in its proper place. But the reader knows it already. The idea was to kidnap the prince in her turn, and to carry him off as quickly as possible to their estate in the neighborhood, where the blissful Afanasy Matveyich flourished in tranquillity. There is no disguising the fact that Marya Alexandrovna was more and more overcome by an inexplicable uneasiness. This does happen at times to real heroes at the very moment when they are attaining their object. Some instinct suggested to her that it was dangerous to remain at Mordassov. "But once we are in the country," she thought, "the whole town may be upside down for all I care." Of course, no time was to be lost even in the country. Anything might happen. Anything, absolutely anything. Though, of course, we put no faith in the rumors, circulated later about my heroine by her enemies, that at this juncture she was actually afraid of the police. In short, she saw that she must get the marriage of Zina and the prince solemnized as quickly as possible. She had the means for doing so at hand. The village priest could celebrate the nuptials in their own home. The ceremony might actually be performed the day after tomorrow, in the last resort even tomorrow. There were cases of weddings within 2 hours of the betrothal. They could present the haste, the absence of festivities, of betrothal, of bridesmaids, to the prince as essentially comme il faut. They could impress upon him that it would be more in keeping with decorum and aristocratic style. In fact, it might all be made to appear as a romantic adventure, and so the most susceptible chord in the prince's heart would be struck. If all else failed, they could always make him drunk, or, still better, keep him in a state of perpetual drunkenness. And afterwards, come what may, Zina would anyway be a princess. Even if they did not get off afterwards without a scandal, in Petersburg or Moscow, for instance, where the prince had relations, even that had its consolations. In the first place, all that was in the future, and in the second, Marya Alexandrovna believed that in the best society scarcely anything ever happened without a scandal, especially in the matrimonial line. That this was, in fact, chic, though the scandals of the best society were, she imagined, necessarily all of a special stamp, on a grand scale, something after the style of Monte Cristo or Les Mémoires du Diable. That, in fact, Zina need only show herself in the best society, and her mamma need only be there to support her, and everyone, absolutely everyone, would instantly be conquered, and that not one of all those countesses and princesses would be capable of withstanding the sousing which Marya Alexandrovna alone was capable of giving them, collectively or individually, in true Mordassov style. In consequence of these reflections, Marya Alexandrovna was now flying to her country seat to fetch Afanasy Matveyich, whose presence, she calculated, was now indispensable. Indeed, to take the prince to the country would mean taking him to see Afanasy Matveyich, whose acquaintance the prince might not be anxious to make. If Afanasy Matveyich were to give the invitation, it would put quite a different complexion upon it. Moreover, the arrival of an elderly and dignified paterfamilias in a white cravat and a dress coat, with a hat in his hand, who had come from distant parts at once on hearing about the prince, might produce a very agreeable effect, might even flatter the amour-propre of the latter. It would be difficult to refuse an invitation so pressing and so ceremonious, thought Marya Alexandrovna. At last the carriage had driven the 2.5 miles, and Sofron, the coachman, pulled up his horses at the front door of a rambling wooden building of 1 story, somewhat dilapidated and blackened by age, with a long row of windows and old lime trees standing round it on all sides. This was the country house and summer residence of Marya Alexandrovna. Lights were already burning in the house. "Where is the blockhead?" cried Marya Alexandrovna, bursting into the rooms like a hurricane. "What is that towel here for? Ah, he has been drying himself. Have you been to the baths again? And he is forever swilling his tea. Well, why are you staring at me like that, you perfect fool? Why hasn't his hair been cut? Grishka! 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 Why haven't you cut your master's hair, as I told you to last week?" As she went into the room, Marya Alexandrovna intended to greet her spouse far more gently. But seeing that he had just come from the bathhouse and was sipping his tea with great enjoyment, she could not refrain from the bitterest indignation. And indeed her cares and anxieties were only equalled by the blissful quietism of the useless and incompetent Afanasy Matveyitch. The contrast instantly stung her to the heart. Meanwhile the blockhead, or to speak more respectfully, he who was called the blockhead, sat behind the samovar, and in senseless panic gazed at his better half with open mouth and round eyes, almost petrified by her appearance. The drowsy and clumsy figure of Grishka, blinking at this scene, was thrust in from the entry. "He wouldn't let me. That is why I didn't cut it," he said in a grumbling and husky voice. "A dozen times I went up to him with the scissors and said, 'The mistress will be coming directly, and then we shall both catch it, and what shall we do then?' 'No,' he said, 'wait a little. I am going to curl it on Sunday, so I must have my hair long.'" "What? So he curls his hair? So you have begun curling your hair while I am away? What new fashion is this? Why does it suit you? Does it suit your wooden head? My goodness, how untidy it is here! What is this smell? I am asking you, you monster, what is this horrid smell here?" shouted his wife, scolding her innocent and completely flabbergasted husband more and more angrily. Mother," muttered her panic-stricken spouse, gazing with imploring eyes at his domineering tyrant, and not getting up from his seat. Mother, how often have I knocked into your ass's head that I am not to be called mother? Mother indeed, to you, a pygmy! How dare you use such a mode of address to a refined lady, whose proper place is in the best society, instead of beside an ass like you? But you know, Marya Alexandrovna, you are my lawful wedded wife, and so I speak to you as to my wife," Afanasy Matveyitch protested, and at the same moment put up both hands to his head to protect his hair. "Oh, you ugly creature! Oh, you aspen post! Was anything ever more stupid than your answer? Lawful wedded wife! Lawful wedded wife indeed nowadays! Does anybody in good society make use of that stupid, clerical, that revoltingly vulgar expression, lawful wedded? And how dare you remind me that I am your wife when I am doing my best, my very utmost, to forget it? Why are you putting your hands over your head? Look what his hair is like, sopping, absolutely sopping. It won't be dry for another 3 hours. How can I take him now? How can I let people see him? What's to be done now?" And Marya Alexandrovna wrung her hands in fury, running backwards and forwards in the room. The trouble, of course, was a small one, and could easily be set right. But the fact was that Marya Alexandrovna could not control her all-conquering and masterful spirit. She felt an irresistible craving to be constantly venting her wrath upon Afanasy Matveyitch, for tyranny is a habit which becomes an irresistible craving. And we all know what a contrast some refined ladies of a certain position are capable of at home behind the scenes, and it is just that contrast I wish to reproduce. Afanasy Matveyitch watched his wife's evolution with a tremor, and positively broke into a perspiration as he looked at her. "Grishka," she cried at last, "dress your master at once. His dress coat, his trousers, his white tie, his waistcoat. Look sharp. But where is his hairbrush? Where is the brush?" "Mother, why, I have just come from the bath. I shall catch cold if I drive to the town." "You won't catch cold." "But my hair is wet." "Well, we will dry it directly. Grishka, take the hairbrush. Brush him till he is dry. Harder, harder, harder. That's it, that's it." At this command, the zealous and devoted Grishka began brushing his master's hair with all his might, clutching him by the shoulder to get a more convenient grip, and pressing him down to the sofa. Afanasy Matveyitch frowned and almost wept. "Now come here, lift him up, Grishka. Where is the pomatum? Bend down, you good-for-nothing. Bend down, you sluggard." And Marya Alexandrovna set to work to pomade her husband's head with her own hands, ruthlessly tugging at his thick grizzled locks, which, to his sorrow, he had not had cut. Afanasy Matveyitch cleared his throat, gasped, but did not scream, and endured the whole operation submissively. "You have sucked the lifeblood out of me, you sloven," said Marya Alexandrovna. "Bend down more, bend down." "How have I sucked your lifeblood, mother?" mumbled her husband, bending his head as far as he could. "Blockhead! He doesn't understand allegory. Now comb your hair, and you dress him and look sharp." Our heroine sat down in an easy-chair and kept an inquisitorial watch on the whole ceremony of arraying Afanasy Matveyitch. Meanwhile he succeeded in getting his breath and recovering himself a little, and when the tying of his cravat was reached, he even ventured to express an opinion of his own on the style and beauty of the knot. Finally, putting on his dress coat, the worthy man was restored to cheerfulness, and looked at himself in the glass with some respect. "Where are you taking me, Marya Alexandrovna?" he said, prinking before the looking-glass. Marya Alexandrovna could not believe her ears. "Hear him! Oh, you dummy! How dare you ask me where I am taking you?" "Mother, but you know, one must know." "Hold your tongue! Only I tell you, if you call me mother once more, especially where we are going now, you shall be cut off tea for a month." The panic-stricken husband held his tongue. "Ugh, not a single decoration has he gained, the sloven," she went on, looking at Afanasy Matveyitch's black coat contemptuously. At last her husband was offended. "It's the government gives decorations, mother, and I am a councillor and not a sloven," he said with honourable indignation. What? So you have learnt to argue out here? Ah, you peasant! Ah, you sniveller! It's a pity I haven't time to see to you, or I'd... But I shan't forget it later on. Give him his hat, Grishka. Give him his overcoat. While I'm away, get these 3 rooms ready. Get the green corner room ready, too. Fetch your brooms instantly. Take the covers off the looking-glasses, off the clocks, too, and within an hour let everything be ready, and put on your swallowtail yourself, and give the servants gloves. Do you hear, Grishka? Do you hear?" They got into the carriage. Afanasy Matveyevich was puzzled and wondering. Meanwhile, Marya Alexandrovna was deliberating how she could most intelligibly knock into her husband's brain certain admonitions indispensable in his present position. But her husband anticipated her. "Do you know, Marya Alexandrovna, I had a most original dream this morning," he informed her quite unexpectedly in the midst of silence on both sides. "Phoo, you confounded dummy! Goodness knows what I thought you were going to say. Some stupid dream. How dare you interrupt me with your loutish dreams? Original? Do you understand what original means? Listen, I tell you for the last time, if you dare to say one word today about your dream or anything else, I don't know what I'll do to you. Listen attentively. Prince K has come to stay with me. Do you remember Prince K?" "I remember him, mother, I remember him. What has he come for?" "Be quiet, that is not your business. You must, as master of the house, invite him with special politeness to stay with us in the country. That is what I am taking you for. We shall set off and drive back today. But if you dare to utter one single word the whole evening, or tomorrow, or the day after tomorrow, or at any time, I'll set you to herd the geese for a whole year. Don't say anything, not a single word. That's the whole of your duty. Do you understand?" "But if I am asked a question?" "Never mind, hold your tongue." "But you know it's impossible to hold one's tongue all the while, Marya Alexandrovna." "In that case, answer in monosyllables. Something, for instance, such as or something of that kind, to show you are a sensible man and think before you speak." "Understand me, I am taking you because you have heard about the prince, and, delighted at his visit, have hastened to pay your respects to him and to ask him to visit you in the country. Do you understand?" None of your humming now, you idiot! You answer me!" "Very good, mother, it shall all be as you say. Only, why am I to invite the prince?" What? Arguing again? What business is it of yours, what for? And how dare you ask questions about it?" "But I keep wondering, mother, how I am to invite him if I hold my tongue, as you tell me." "I will speak for you, and you've simply got to bow. Do you hear? To bow, and hold your hat in your hand. Do you understand?" "I understand, Marya Alexandrovna." "The prince is extremely witty. If he says anything, even though it is not to you, you must respond to everything with a bright and good-humored smile. Do you understand?" Humming again. Don't say to me. Answer simply and directly. Do you hear?" "I hear, Marya Alexandrovna, of course I hear. And I am saying to practice saying it as you told me. Only I keep wondering about the same thing, mother, how it is to be. If the prince says anything, you tell me to look at him and smile. Well, but if he asks me something—" "You slow-witted dolt! I have told you already, hold your tongue. I will answer for you. You simply look at him and smile." "Why, but he'll think I am dumb," grumbled Afanasy Matveyevich. "As though that mattered. Let him think it. You'll conceal the fact that you were a fool, anyway." "But what if other people ask me some question?" "Nobody will ask you. No one will be there. But in case, which God forbid, somebody does come in, And if anybody does ask you a question or say anything to you, you must answer at once by a sarcastic smile. Do you know what is meant by a sarcastic smile?" "It means witty, doesn't it, Mother?" "I'll teach you to be witty, you blockhead! And who would ask a fool like you to be witty? A mocking smile, don't you understand? Mocking and contemptuous." "Oh, I do feel uneasy about this blockhead," Marya Alexandrovna murmured to herself. "He certainly has taken a vow to be the death of me. It really would have been better not to have brought him at all." Absorbed in such reflections, in regret and anxiety, Marya Alexandrovna was continually popping her head out of the window and urging on the coachman. The horses raced along, but still it seemed too slow for her. Afanasy Matveyitch sat silently in his corner, inwardly repeating his lesson. At last the carriage drove into the town and stopped at Marya Alexandrovna's house. But our heroine had hardly had time to alight at the front door, when all at once she saw driving up to the house a two-seated sledge with a hood, the very sledge in which Anna Nikolaevna Antipov usually drove about. In the sledge were sitting two ladies. One of them was, of course, Anna Nikolaevna herself, the other Natalia Dmitrievna, who had of late been her devoted friend and follower. Marya Alexandrovna's heart sank. But before she had time to cry out, another carriage drove up, a sledge in which there was evidently another visitor. There was a sound of joyful exclamations. "Marya Alexandrovna, and with Afanasy Matveyitch too! You have just arrived? Where from? How lucky! And we have come to spend the whole evening. What a surprise!" The visitors sprang out at the front door and chattered like swallows. Marya Alexandrovna could not believe her eyes or her ears. "I'll see you further," she thought to herself. "It looks like a plot. I must inquire into it. But you won't outwit me, you magpies. You wait a bit."